WTBS.
David Cone showed why the New York Mets have been picked to win the East again. They have outstanding pitching, and last night, Cone was magnificent in the Mets' 2-1 win. Tonight, it doesn't get any easier for the Braves as Darryl Strawberry returns to the New York lineup and Doc Gooden goes to the mound. The Braves and Mets are next on the Superstation.
Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all that you do, this Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
Tonight, it's the Braves against the Mets from New York. Good evening, everybody. Along with Billy Sample, this is Ernie Johnson speaking to you from Shea Stadium, where tonight we conclude a two-game set with the New York Mets. Tomorrow's an off day. The Braves will be in Montreal over the weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our next telecast is next Sunday afternoon. Well, Billy Sample, Zane Smith lost another tough ball game.
Well, Ernie, actually, his last two outings, he's had quality starts, yet has failed to pick up a win, as has tonight's starter, Peter Smith. But you get the feeling the Mets last night manufactured some runs. They scored 2 runs, both on sacrifice flies. Tonight, against Gooden, who was only given up 163 as an average against the rest of the league, you get the feeling the Braves are going to have to manufacture some runs of their own.
We'll be back with the starting lineups right after this word.
To Shea Stadium for game 2 of this 2-game set against the Mets. I tried to say in our award-winning open that the league is hitting 163 against Doc Gooden. I went a little longer in trying to get to that point. For the Braves, 10-11, 2 games back of San Francisco, leading off at third base, Ronnie Gant. Lonnie Smith bats second in left field. Gerald Perry bats third at first. Dale Murphy cleans up in center. Andres Thomas, the shortstop. Deion James in right field bats sixth. Jody Davis behind the plate. Jeff Treadway, the second baseman, and Peter Smith on the mound. For the Mets, 9-9, winners of their last 3. Lenny Dykstra leads off in center field. Greg Jeffries will play second base tonight. Dave Magadan will play first. Darryl Strawberry back in the lineup. He cleans up in right field. Kevin McReynolds in left field. Howard Johnson at third base. Gary Carter bats seventh behind the plate. Kevin Elster bats eighth at shortstop, and Doc Gooden on the mound. Our arbiters, the senior umpire in all of Major Leagues, Doug Harvey in his 28th season will be behind the plate. Frank Pulley in his 18th season will be at first. Bob Davison in his 8th season will be at second, and Greg Bonet in his 4th season will be at third. As we take a look at the Mets defensively, McReynolds, who had 18 outfield assists, he's in left. Dykstra in center. Strawberry in right field. McReynolds had that last season. On the infield, Johnson, Elster, Jeffries, and Magadan, and our battery, Gooden and Carter. There's the doctor. 3-0 this season, had 10 complete games last year. And look at those numbers. 24 strikeouts and 28 2/3 innings. Going back to striking out some folks, he said he's concentrating a little more on the bottom of the order this year, trying to put those guys away. He had felt in the past that those guys have hurt him. As he's finishing his warm-up tosses, Ronnie Gant back at the top of the order. The second night he has done so. Russ Nixon inserted him last night, and Ronnie responded with his second homer of the season. And as we start to get underway to bring you to play-by-play, Ernie Johnson.
Thank you, Billy. Good evening, everybody. We're in the takeoff pattern of the Jets tonight. You'll be able to hear him in the background. Gooden had a little problem getting that mound to his liking. Now he's taking his warm-up tosses. In other action around the major leagues, this afternoon at Wrigley Field, the Dodgers beat the Cubs again 3-1. The Cubs were playing very well at home. Then they took a road trip, a nosedive, and now they're back in Chicago, and they have still lost 2 in a row to Los Angeles. San Diego 2, Pittsburgh nothing. They are in the 3rd inning. Montreal will play at Cincinnati. Philadelphia at Houston, San Francisco at St. Louis. In the American League, a final, Texas at Cleveland, and they beat them 3-2 for the 2nd day in a row. And bombs away at Milwaukee, 12-0, the Brewers over the Twins. No score at Boston. They are in the 1st. And later, New York's at Kansas City, Detroit at California. Baltimore will play at Oakland. And Toronto closes it out with a game in Seattle that'll take place about 10:05 Eastern Time. Gooden is set. A long throw to second, and the Mets moving around the infield. Davey Johnson, the manager of the New York Mets, and we could talk for a long time about him. He is more than just a manager. He's involved in so many things. He has a restaurant down in New Smyrna Beach. He has a mathematics degree from Trinity University in San Antonio. He played in Japan. Boy, you could write a, I don't know if he's written a book or not, but he ought to, because he's been everywhere. Davey Johnson.
I hear he's also a computer whiz.
Yeah. Played over in the Japanese League. Here's a pitch. We're underway. It is swung on and missed. 0-1. And as you all know, he's the first manager, Davey Johnson, in the National League history to win 90 or more games in each of his first 5 seasons as manager. A little bit high, and on top of that, he's about a 5 handicap golfer. I don't know how he finds time to do that.
And when you talk about his managerial record, you still get the feeling that he's a little like...
Pop foul. I don't know if Carter has a play. Johnson coming in. And it's right on top of the Braves dugout.
You get the feeling he's a little like Pat Riley of the Lakers, where he really doesn't get any respect for his managerial ability. People say that, well, you're supposed to win because you have such good talent. And Davey would be the first to tell you that he's got to manage a little bit too, in spite of the fact that he has quite a bit of talent. You still have to coordinate that talent to make them successful.
1 ball, 2 strikes. There was a little bit of doubt that he'd be back this year, but as you know, they got together on a contract. They're looking for a K right here from the doctor. And it's just a little bit low. 2-2. Lonnie Smith is on deck. Gerald Perry, the number 3 hitter. And the 2-2 from Gooden. Call strike 3. You're out. He got it on the outside corner, a breaking ball.
There's not much you can do about this one, because you can't lean over too much with 2 strikes. And he's going to hit the outside corner with a, I thought that was a tight curveball. You can't even touch that ball.
Lonnie Smith 0 for 3 last night. Gant went 1 for 4 last night. He hit one into the bullpen and left for the only run scored by Atlanta. A little bit inside. Well, barring injury, Doc Gooden, he's just going to keep going on, and he's got all the potential of being a Hall of Famer.
And he's only 24 years old.
Yeah. Perry on deck. There's a curve, line to center field, base hit. Lonnie Smith, who came in at 295, singles to center. And now Gerald Perry went 0 for 2 last night. He's at 353, 3 homers and 15 RBIs. Murphy on deck. The 1-loss record lifetime of Gooden is unbelievable, really. 94 wins and only 35 losses.
But he's only 4-2 against the Braves, only, I say, because that represents the fewest victories he has had against a team.
Won 2 last year against Atlanta. Lost none. Smith at first base, being held by Magadan tonight. Hernandez is out of there. It might be due to a injury we don't know. There's a bouncing ball foul. Did you get any report on Hernandez, why he's not in there tonight?
Originally, they had him in the lineup. And even though Gooden has improved his move over the years, he still has a high leg kick, has a little bit of a hesitation once he gets into the full part of his windup, into the top part of his windup, and that's good for base stealers. And as we said earlier, the Braves might have to manufacture some runs, and that's the best way to do it when you have speed at the top of the order.
You watch Gooden now when he stops, when he pauses in his set position. He used to come down around the belt. They've been running on him the past year or two, so now he stops high right off his face. And obviously it's helped him because he seems to stay with it.
Well, it gives a base stealer another look, because sometimes you anticipate that the guy's going to come all the way down to the belt, as you said Gooden used to do, and you start to wait, and he doesn't come all the way down.
If they get a jump on Gooden, it's because that right leg is lifted rather high when he goes to the plate. Now, he's not going to change his style because of the base runner over there. He's going to stick with what gets the batter out. But he does have a high leg kick, and that's what the runner looks for at first. He'll break right away as soon as that leg goes up. Watch. Didn't go. He goes to first instead. And he's made the effort, and I'm sure that Gary Carter appreciates that, because it's really tough on a catcher when the pitcher does not hold him on.
Well, Carter has thrown out 8 of 20 base stealers this year.
Maybe that's an indication. Runner going. Good throw. He'll be in there easily. There is an example. Lonnie Smith, just as soon as Gooden started that leg up, and it doesn't go up fast, he broke. Carter didn't have a chance. There was no way he could have thrown that ball right on the bag, and Smith was in there ahead of it.
Well, if you're going to get 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5, you've got to steal the base.
Because many times you steal it if you just get it 1 step ahead that you usually get. You can go a long way. There's a foul past third. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I used to think that if I could get 4 steps, which was a luxury, there was no way anybody was going to steal me, throw me out.
Murphy on deck. The Braves with a scoring opportunity here in the top of the first. Ooh, that was close. 3-2. Lonnie Smith off second base. He singled and stole second. Three balls and 2 strikes. That's just a little bluff. You can balk going back to second if you hold the ball. Don't try that to first. He got him on that curveball.
Gooden has a big curveball, and this one a tighter spun curveball. Really dropped, looked like a slider. And once you start to bat, as Gerald does, there's no way you can hold it.
Now Dale Murphy. Murphy had a long night last night against Cohn. He lined hard to third the first time up, but then he fanned 3 straight times. David Cohn had that outside corner all to himself. Pitch outside, 1-0. Cohn struck out 10 last night.
In case you're wondering, Murphy is 5 for 25 lifetime against Gooden with 1 homer.
Fastball up a little bit, 2-0.
And that homer was a pinch hit homer after Murphy had stuck his hands through that plexiglass. It used to be at Atlanta, Fulton County, and he missed a game, pinch hit, and took Gooden deep on a curveball. One of the most remarkable feats that I can recall seeing.
Amen. Swing a miss on a fastball. Gooden is like so many of those super pitchers. He's got a great fastball, but he gets an awful lot of strikeouts on a sharp curve.
And he's the kind of guy that seems to get tougher when there are guys in scoring position. Because you'll see guys from time to time in scoring position, guys on second and third, but you don't see many of them scoring.
Let's see if Murphy can change that. Another fastball, 2-2. That's well over 90.
And it's hard to catch up with it up there.
Now you wonder if curveball or keep with the fastball. 2 outs, a runner at second base. Don't be surprised if you see a curve. And there it was, breaking ball. It just missed outside. 3-2. Or it might have been a slider. Boy, that ball just missed outside. Tough to pick up the sign because there's a runner at second base. They use this indicator sign. They said Murphy went around. Strikeout. Frank Pulley at first, and yes, he did on that fastball. As we go, let's take a look. Does the bat go over the plate? This is a good angle. Yes, it did. Braves failed to score. New York coming to bat. We're going to the bottom of the first. Dykstra will lead it off. And here's the Braves. Defensively, Lonnie Smith, Dale Murphy, Deion James in the outfield, Ron Gant, Andres Thomas, Jeff Treadway, and Gerald Perry around the infield. And Jody Davis is catching Pete Smith. Smith has pitched well his last 2 outings. He has nothing to show for it.
Through 6+ innings his last outing, giving up 1 earned run. And I guess the epitome of the season so far for Peter Smith and Zane Smith is the game that Pete threw at San Francisco, in which he had a complete game loss, a 1-0 loss, in which he struck out 13 batters.
Strike call to Dykstra. Dykstra had a triple last night. He's batting .359. He'll be followed by Greg Jeffrey. We're asking for help, and he didn't go, according to Greg Bonner. I don't know if Dykstra's chewing tobacco this year or not. He said he was going to quit. I think he's back on it.
All it took was a couple of offers, and you get back to your old habits.
Yeah. How did I have that good year? Well, I had a chaw of tobacco. I ate pancakes every morning.
Good carbohydrates,
yeah.
Yes.
2 balls, 1 strike. Ball players are the most superstitious people.
Which leads us to the next question. What were some of yours?
Oh. Down low. 3-1. Well, I never stepped on that foul line. Did you when you ran out? Or did you jump over it?
I've got size 12s. I can't miss that foul line too often.
3 balls and a strike. Ball 4. Trouble right away. Dykstra walks.
Number 9, second baseman, Greg Jeffrey.
Here's Jeffries. You take a close look at Greg Jeffries for you older Atlanta Braves fans. Doesn't he look like he's from the Biff Pocoroba family? Looks a lot like him. That's lefty. He's a switch hitter. Pocoroba, a catcher with the Braves for many years. Jeffries at 138. He had a period this year where he went 0 for 28. And he hasn't recovered yet. 0 for 3 last night.
And he really hasn't hit the ball all that poorly. He's only struck out 5 times in that span.
Pete Smith has good stuff. He's going to be a good major league pitcher for many years.
He has really had that breaking ball, as Pete, going the last couple of games. And he could be tough on right-handed hitters like David Cone was last night against some of the Braves right-handed hitters, though Pete doesn't drop down 3/4 as Cone does.
Ready and pitching. A little wild right here, 1-0. That shows you how effective he's been the last 2 starts. His last win was last year in August. He beat the Cubs. That is over. 1 ball, 1 strike. Rick Sutcliffe lost today. He was going for his 5th win of the year. And the Dodgers beat him 3-1. Strawberry back in the lineup tonight. He had about 5 balls off that scoreboard in batting practice, and Davey Johnson said, I guess he's ready to play.
Yeah, but they were 4-1 without him. How can he get back into the lineup?
1 ball, 1 strike. Runner is going. There's a base hit to center field. They'll have runners on the corner. And 2 look-alikes. Really, Dykstra and Jeffrey, built along the same lines, approach the game in the same manner, are on the corners.
Well, Jeffries just takes a low fastball. Peter got the ground ball he wanted, but didn't get the result he would have liked to have had.
The next batter is Magadan at 2-11. He can play first or third, even go to the outfield. Dave Magadan. Cincinnati got a run. They lead Montreal 1-0 in the 2nd at Riverfront. The Braves back at double play depth, of course, early in the game, and the pitch is low. They would gladly give up a run if they could turn 2. 1 ball, no strikes. Dykstra's at 3rd, and Jeffries is at 1st. See the defense. One ball, no strikes. Dykstra down from 3rd. And off first is Jeffries, and here's a pitch. Not getting any better. 2 balls and no strikes. Bruce Hurst is shutting out Pittsburgh 2-0 in the 4th for the San Diego Padres.
Is this a situation in the count that Davey Johnson has to like? He has speed on the corners. Jeffries 2 out of 3 in steals. He has a good contact hitter in Magadan.
He missed that fastball 2-1. Pete Smith has a fastball, curve, and slider, and then that circle change that'll go down and away from left-handed batters. As you look at Bobby Wine and Russ Nixon. The Braves are 10-11. A year ago, wow, 5-16 in 9 games back. Time is called. Dykstra taking a little walk up there.
Maybe he went back to the tobacco and swallowed it.
Sam Palazzo is their 3rd base coach.
The way Palazzo was laughing, you get the feeling it was something like that.
Bill Robinson coaches at 1st. Two-one pitch. Lined and caught by the shortstop, Andres Thomas. A well-hit ball, but right at Thomas. Now a big hand for Darryl Strawberry. He's got a bad shoulder, been out a few games. He has 4 homers and 6 RBIs. He has 190 career homers, batting .286. A guy with a lot of leverage. In other words, Makes good use of his height. He's got good power to all parts of the field. The Braves play him as a pull hitter. 1 out on a line drive to short. Strike on a fastball, 0-1. Strawberry looks like he lifts that front foot a little bit more than usual. A lot of batters are doing that. It's timing, of course. When he starts in, he picks it up rather than sliding it. Carmelo Martinez picks it a foot off the ground. You watch Strawberry here. He'll pick that front foot up. Runners first and third. 1 out. Might have been that changeup. Looked like it went away from him.
I don't think he wants to keep it that high.
No. Got away with one.
But maybe that line drive to short is what can get Peter out of this inning confidence-wise. The ball was hit hard. They still didn't get any runs out of it. If he can come back and get Strawberry and McReynolds.
He just slapped at that ball, spoiling it, hitting it down by third. Foul. Count will stay 0-2, and he broke his back. These same Mets are in Atlanta next Monday and Tuesday, so pick up your tickets. They're only in for 2. Always an interesting team to watch. A team picked by just about everybody, not all, but most people to win again in the National League East with all their superstars. No balls, 2 strikes. Delivery. Bounces away, and a run will score. Oh, that hurt. He wasted a curveball in the dirt, and it bounced away from Jody Davis. It's 1-0.
Well, as Ernie said, tried to throw him that curveball. 0-2 count. You don't want to throw it too good. And it just got more of the dirt than Peter would have wanted.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Looked like that ball hit right on the plate.
Yeah, the way it kicked up, I think you're right.
Fouled away. Count will stay 1-2. Gene Mitchell from Quitman, Georgia, and Suzanne Dunn from Stockbridge, Georgia, in New York, and taking in a Braves game. If you're ever up this way, take in a game. It is really excitement personified. Shea Stadium.
I think it's exciting just going to the different ballparks. A lot of people really enjoy that.
Another pitch to Strawberry is swung on and missed, and there was a changeup. A beautiful change from Pete Smith, gets the strikeout.
Ernie called it the changeup, that circle change. You can almost see Peter gripping it in his glove. And look at the way it goes down and away from the left-handed hitter. And Strawberry has long arms and uses a long bat, so you can see just how much motion Peter has on that pitch.
Jeffries is at second base. 2 outs now, 1-0 New York. Kevin McReynolds had a sac fly last night and an RBI. There's a ball outside. He's batting .254 with a couple of homers and 7 RBI. When you get Strawberry and McReynolds back-to-back, if they go injury-free during a year, they're going to be around 30 homers and 90-plus RBIs. You can just bet on it. The curve is in there, beauty. He had McReynolds backing out. 1 ball, 1 strike. If Pete Smith can get out of this with only 1 run scoring, he's done a pretty good job because he had runners at first and third and nobody out. High pop, but it might stay in for Perry. Let's watch it over by the seats. He can't quite make it. Gerald reaching in, just missed it. 1-2.
Let's see how close Gerald comes to catching this ball. Now we're in the camera box. And right off the tip of his glove.
Evan McReynolds. 1 ball, 2 strikes. They got him from the San Diego Padres a few years back. A great investment. And the 1-2 pitch. Hit foul, straight back. Howard Johnson, who didn't play last night, will be next. He's the guy that was rumored in the trade talks involving Dale Murphy and the Mets. Howard Johnson, Lenny Dykstra. The curve is in there for strike 3 call. 2 strikeouts in a row and 2 good hitters. So Pete Smith recovered. We go to the second, 1-0 New York. Andres Thomas leads it off. 1 for 4 last night. Gooden staked to a 1-0 lead, delivers high. Dwight Gooden donates $1,000 to various hospitals every time he wins a ball game. He's getting involved in the community. That's pretty well hit to left center. Dykstra, though, looks like he's going to catch it. And he does. Well, you can tell when he had a beat on it. Lenny Dykstra on a nice catch in center field, and he robbed Andres Thomas, who hit that ball almost 400 feet.
Right fielder number 10, Deion James.
Let's see, Andres gets a good cut at a high fastball. The ball appears to carry in center field tonight as Dykstra has a step and backs into the St. Louis Cardinal sign.
Deion James takes a curveball high. Boy, Gooden seems to be kicking way above his head. That's a high leg kick, and look at that. Looks like more than he usually does, but of course that's why he has to not lift his leg that high when he has a man at first base. But watch him with nobody on. It might be the highest leg kick in the league.
And with that high kick, he can disguise where the ball is coming from a lot easier.
He is way up there. And that is fouled away down the left. Deion James last night had a couple of hits. He's batting .321. We mentioned that 1-loss record. ERA excellent, 19 shutouts. The curveball is low. 2-2. Also keep in mind, and not taking anything away from Gooden, but when you're pitching for a team that wins constantly, boy, you're going to get your share. They get you some runs. Low and away, 3-2.
Well, I'm sure it works hand in hand. Not only does he feel better pitching for a club that's going to get him some runs, but conversely, the club's going to feel better knowing they've got a guy out there like Doc Gooden who's not going to give up more than 3 runs a game.
That is hit foul off to the left, and it's going to be into the seats. It's a great combination when you and he contributes so well. But it's a great way to go into a baseball season when you can say, well, let's see, Gooden will win 20, you know, and go right down the list. And you're almost guaranteed of so many wins. There's a pitch high. And the Braves have a base runner. That's the first walk. That's good.
Yeah, they can go in and say Gooden will win 20. Cohn's going to win. Well, Cohn won 20 last season, losing only 3. That's plus 17. That's outstanding. You've got Darling.
He should win 15 to 20.
You've got Ojeda.
Yeah.
Hernandez. You've got Aguilera looking to get into the starting rotation. And then you've got a pretty good bullpen.
Davis with a runner going to throw. Safe. So right away, Deion James Steals second. That's a second stolen base. And they steal him on Gooden.
Russ Nixon wasting no time, having his runners take off. Carter had a little trouble getting that high fastball out of his mitt, but Dion was in there easily.
One ball, no strikes. The Braves one day are going to be able to make that statement. They're going to go right down their list and say, this guy's going to win 15, this guy's going to win 15. And the Braves of old, you've heard me mention it before. I'm sure someone's going to say 1,000 times. But every time we started the season, first the pitch. Swing and a miss on a fastball. When you can start a season and say, well, let's see. Aaron's going to hit 40. Matthews going to hit 40. They're going to both knock in over 100 runs. Adcock's going to hit about 25, and he'll knock in close to 100. And Logan will knock in 75. Crandall will knock in 60. But then you get to the pitching staff and say, Spahn, Burdette, and Buell, they're probably going to win close to 60 between the three of them. The rest of the guys can win maybe 30. We'll win a pennant. And it's a great attitude and a great way to start a season.
And that's why you have that World Series ring.
Yes. But Spahn, Burdette, and Buell, Spahn was always 20 plus, close to it. Burdette was up around 20. Buell was 17 or 18. And you add those three right there, you've got a good chance. 1-2. That curveball just missed. Jody Davis finds himself in a slump, batting only 141. He was 0 for 3 here last night. He needs a base hit. He needs an RBI. I don't care if you're 24 years old, 30. Confidence plays such a big part in this game. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Just off the corner, 3-2. That's a tying run at second. A walk and a stolen base. Payoff pitch. Just inside with a curveball. 2 walks in the inning. That'll bring up Jeff Treadway.
Second baseman, Jeff Treadway.
It was a 6-game hitting streak. Picked up a base hit last night.
You'd think with Gooden, with all that gas that he has, all the velocity on the fastball, that he would come after you with a 3-2 count, but we've seen many a time where he'll drop a 3-2 curveball over for a strike. He has that kind of command of his pitches.
Treadway's done a good job. He's been excellent in the field. Last night, his base hit got Cone out of the ball game. Brought on Myers, who retired Darrell Evans for out number 3 in the 9th inning. The Braves had 2 hits in that ninth. James singled and Treadway singled. The 1-0. 2-0. Treadway doesn't strike out very often. He just tries to make contact. Every once in a while, he'll hit a long one. He has 1 homer.
And it seems as though Jeff picks up a lot of his hits in the latter innings. He had that homer the last time at home, the last game, to pull the Braves within 1 run.
There's a looper toward right. It's going to be caught or not. It's caught by Strawberry. A double play at second. Dion James thought it was going to fall in there, and Strawberry sliding along. And as we go, we're going to take another look. It looked like he might have to trap it. He's coming on. He caught it. A beautiful catch by Strawberry. A double play of Dion James, who was around third heading for home. Treadway is robbed. We go to the bottom of the second.
Okay, we're going to take another look at this catch off the bat of Jeff Treadway. Looked like an inside low fastball. Jeff gets the bat head on it, and Strawberry, just coming off a shoulder injury, makes a pretty courageous play, manages to keep the ball in his glove, and doubles off Dion James. Not a whole lot you can say, because I don't think anybody up here thought that Strawberry would make that catch, and I'm sure that by the results, Dion didn't think so either.
Here's Howard Johnson. At 256, bounces the ball to Treadway, who will throw him out, one away. Yes, Dion gambled and lost. He thought it was going to fall in, and it didn't. A lot of plays out there are just judgment plays by the runner. Coach can't help you. You just look at it. And he thought it might fall. It didn't. So it turns into a blunder on the bases. We'll see if it costs Atlanta, because he was the tying run.
I think that's called baseball instincts.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, you pick it up, you're going to have some failures. Even the best base runners are going to miss some from time to time, but the good ones are going to miss it very seldom.
Carter at 137. He has 1 homer and 4 RBIs. We're in the second inning. It's 1-0 Mets. They beat the Braves last night 2-1. The curveball missed inside. Montreal and the Reds are 1-1 the bottom of the third. San Diego leading Pittsburgh 2-1 bottom of the fifth. They've got a nice scoreboard here. They keep everybody up to date. High pop, right side foul. I believe it'll be in the seats, and it is. I think the crowd might be larger than last night, when we had around 26,000. He'll draw $3 million here again. There's that scoreboard. Inning by inning tells you what's happening. Harry carries Bud right in the middle of it. Swing, a miss. Good curveball, and Carter's upset. Pete Smith had 3 strikeouts. We're only in the second inning.
Outside black. Not a whole lot you can do about it.
Slick fielding Kevin Elster. 78 straight games without a boot. And at a tough position, shortstop. I say that at short because you're farther away than any other infielder. I mean, you can't boot a ball, pick it up, and throw somebody out like you can at third and second. You got to be flawless. Here's the 0-1. And this guy set a new major league record. He beat
Ed Brinkman, I think.
Buddy Kerr was a National League, but Eddie Brinkman was a major league leader with 72, and he beat him. Jody Davis will make this play. And a very easy inning for Pete Smith. As he gets the 8-hitter, the pitcher will be leading off. We go to the third.
There's our score, 1-0 Braves, having to come from behind. Tomorrow night on the NBA, or in the NBA, Philadelphia at New York, Bob Neal and Rick Barry, 8:05 Eastern Time. And then Portland at LA, our own Pete Van Wieren and John McLeod will bring you that game. Friday night, game 1, Boston at Detroit. Skip Carey and Rick Barry at 8:05. And the second game, Denver at Phoenix. Pete will log a lot of frequent flyer miles as he will be teamed that night with Steve Jones. And following that, inside the NBA with Fred Hickman.
Pete Smith will lead it off as we go to the third. He'll be followed by Ron Gant. Foul away. Tomorrow's off, but remember, on Friday you can catch the Braves on radio, WSB in Atlanta, and 100+ stations around the Southeast. Airtime is 7:10 for the leadoff man. Friday, Braves radio only. Saturday, Braves radio only. And then Sunday, we'll be with you on TV at 1:30. No balls and 2 strikes. Up the middle, out by second, but it's going to be Elster to first for out number 1. One out.
And you can tell by that play that Elster's not just making the routine plays. He had to range far to his left over the bag. When it left the bat, I thought Peter had a base hit. but Elster was there to complete the play.
He's only 24 years old. Buddy Kerr had 68 straight games in the National League with the Braves, mostly with the Giants, however, prior to Giants and Braves. And Elster went by him. Here's Gant. Then the major league record was Eddie Brinkman, an infielder with Detroit, and a good one. He had 72 straight games. Eddie might be looking in tonight. And Elster passed him, too. Long fly ball to left. Will it have the power? It does. It's out of here. This game is tied. Ron Gant has homered again. Hit one last night, hit one tonight. McReynolds went back as though he might have a chance, but it got up in the seats for a 1-1 game. Ron Gant.
And this wasn't bad pitching. They buckled him, Gooden did, with a curveball on the first pitch, and then tried to come in on his hands with a fastball, and Ronnie got the barrel of the bat out, and he's some kind of strong. You can tell the pitch was inside. He had to draw his hands in a little bit and still hit it about 380 feet.
Lonnie Smith hits it foul out of play. Good hitter's park, Billy. Home runs fly here. Renewing our conversation from yesterday.
For some reason, I didn't think you would forget that.
Ron Gantz helped me out. He's hit that ball hard. Last night's homer went in the bullpen over the 358 mark. This one was a longer one. Smith had a single first time up. We've got a 1-1 game. And the ball is high. Tied again. 3-1. Perry, the on-deck hitter. Buck out inside, ball 4. So after the homer, Dwight Gooden said, I'm going to get this next guy. And he walked him. Perry struck out the first time up.
Well, even with the great pitchers, and you can comment further on this, Ernie, when you've gotten some of your good cheese turned around, sometimes you try to overthrow. You try to really get a little extra on the fastball. And in that situation, Gooden was running high and inside to Lonnie.
Runner going right away. There will be no throw. Another stolen base.
And you can almost see the frustration on Carter's face when he received the ball from Gooden, and he could tell that Lonnie had a big enough jump that there was no way he was going to throw him out. He just gave it one of those disgusted looks. We take another look at it. I have no chance. Lonnie stealing all the way.
He's 2 for 2 tonight in stolen bases. So Atlanta with a go-ahead run at second. Top of the 3rd inning. And with a chance to go out in front, they have only one out. Bouncer third. Johnson bobbles it. That should have been handled. E5. Now Dale Murphy with runners at first and second.
It looked like Johnson might have taken his eyes off that just a little. No, he followed it all the way in. He just didn't get there. And, of course, with Gerald running from the left side and Gerald with good speed, you've got to make that play cleanly. That might have intimidated him somewhat into miscuing that ball.
Johnson having problems at third, as you saw by that graphic. 5 errors in 15 games. Murphy struck out the first time up. First and second, one down. Fouled it away. He had a good cut. Gooden gave him a pitch to hit, and he fouled it away. Andres Thomas on deck. A little fake back to second.
Gooden had 10 complete games last season, but you get the feeling he doesn't have one so far this year, and he's thrown a lot of pitches. I would be surprised to see him around at the 9th inning tonight.
Fastball missed. Ronnie Smith now with 6 stolen bases for the year. Runners first and second. Smith and Perry out there. 0-2 on Murphy. He missed with a fastball. 1-2. Murphy with 4 homers and 15 RBIs. He's way ahead of last year as far as RBIs go. Here's a 1-2 pitch to him. No, to second instead. That was close. Jeffrey sneaking in behind Lonnie Smith. Good time play by the Mets.
Well, Doc does have a move to second as Lonnie just gets, well, he's in there with quite a bit of time, but it looked closer initially.
Did he go? Yes, he did. Frank Pulley calls Dale Murphy out again on strike. I'll tell you what happened. Murph's bat went through over the plate. He couldn't hold it up. See where the bat is?
Trying to swing and get out of the way at the same time.
Now Andres Thomas. Gooden struck out the side in the first inning. He's picked up 4 total. Thomas fly deep to center field first time up. A nice catch by Dykstra. Right against the wall. It's a 1-1 game. Did he balk? Yes, he did. See if we can pick it up. I don't believe he stopped. There's got to be some semblance of a stop. Let's look, Bill. Where did he balk?
Well, let's try to find out. Let's see. I guess he didn't stop long enough.
No. He pauses right off his face, but obviously didn't stop enough. They're still calling that, but not as strict as last year. A drive along the right field foul line. Strawberry is back there. He caught it in the corner. He passed from view, but Strawberry has made 2 fine catches in this ball game. The Braves leave 2, get 1 on the home run by Gant, and we go to the bottom of the 3rd.
We're going to take another look at the play that ended the last half inning. Strawberry has already made 1 tremendous play tonight, saving a run. This time he goes into foul territory for his 2nd good play.
Gooden up there takes a strike. On 2. We don't have the records, but I don't know if the Braves have ever been pitching this well during the regular season. There's a foul away. They are 3rd in the National League in ERA, 2.98. 3rd. Not only in the major leagues, but they've got some kids down in the minors. In fact, they're starting to write articles about the Braves pitchers, writing these articles throughout the country. Down at Durham, for instance, Steve Avery's 3-0, ERA 0.50. Dennis Burlingame 2-0, 0.36 ERA. Ben Rivera 2-0, ERA 0.56. There's a bouncer out behind second. Can he make it? No. Nice try by Treadway. That's an infield hit for Gooden.
See Treadway on his backhand running away from first base. He has a long throw, and Gooden is some kind of athlete. And coming into the season, he's a lifetime 178 hitter, so he knows what to do with the bat.
Well, Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra in the major leagues has stolen as many as 30 bases. But one time in the minor leagues, about his third year in minor league ball, he stole 105 bases in one season. They're not holding Gooden. And there's a high fly, short center, Murphy. One down. So Dykstra has a fly out to go with a walk. And now Jeffries, who's singled in the first. Magadan on deck. Pete Smith pitching, and the curve is over. There's Doug Harvey.
And Gooden is getting a good lead at first. I wouldn't leave out the possibility that he would try to steal second. Now, Gerald is trying to jockey him back to the bag, especially after the previous pitch, in which he had 3 or 4 more steps towards second base.
Here's an 0-1. 0-2. I mentioned New York's in town next Monday and Tuesday. They'll be followed by the Phillies for 2 and Montreal for 3. So the Braves will be home for about a week starting on Monday. We'll look for you at the ballpark. 1 out. I'll tell you one thing. Dwight Gooden's got the loudest gloves on, batting gloves I've seen. He's got some orange babies. Look at that. Those glow in the dark.
Just matching the uniform.
Yep. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That's no fluke with Gooden, though. He takes some pride in his hitting. He's always up there swinging away.
Don't all you pitchers take pride in your hitting?
No. Swing and a miss. That is a strikeout of Jeffries. And for Pete Smith, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He has 4.
Strike 2 was on a changeup, and strike 3 also on a changeup.
Here's Magadan. And the slider, I believe, inside. Al Galima tells us the last time the Braves had an ERA like this was back in 1974. That's 15 years ago. That year they finished 3rd in ERA. Shade over 3. Well, I'll tell you, good pitching will keep you in a ball game. Gives you a chance. Strike on a fastball.
Well, we said it last night, Ernie, that the Braves have been in every game they've played so far this season. There haven't been any blowouts, and we anticipate this all year because there's good pitching throughout the division.
Two away, a runner at first. Magadan steps out. First time up, he hit the ball as hard as anybody, but right at Andres Thomas. It's a 1-1 game if you just tuned us in. And shame on you if you just tuned us in. There's a fly ball left. Should be handled by Lonnie Smith. He's under it, and he's got it. And the bottom of the 3rd is history. We go to the 4th inning, tied. We're going to the 4th. Here's some scores for you. In the National League, Dodgers beat the Cubs 3-1. San Diego leading Pittsburgh 2-1 in the 7th. Montreal leading Cincinnati 2-1 in the 5th. Philadelphia by 1 over Houston early. And the Giants by 1 over St. Louis. In the American League, as we flip over, Yankees leading Kansas City 1-0. They lost last night. Texas 3-2 winners over Cleveland. Milwaukee 12-0 over Minnesota. Chicago and Boston 4-4 in the 3rd. Deion James will lead off the 4th. Here's Billy.
Okay, thanks, Ernie. It'll be James, Davis, and Treadway 6, 7, and 8 to face Doc Gooden. Braves batting. Tied at 1 in the top of the 4th. Deion walked and stole a base his first time. He was 2 for 4 last night. Trying to get back to that year of 1987 in which he hit .312. He's behind the count, 2 strikes. Takes inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count. Deion had one of his best days on the bases last year. Here at Shea, he had 3 stolen bases. And the way they're running off Gooden tonight, if he gets on, he'll probably attempt another one. The 1-2 pitch hit to the right side, but Jeffries there. 1 away. One out for Jody Davis, who walked his first time. The Mets opened the scoring in the 1st. Dykstra walked. Jeffries singled him to 3rd, and Dykstra eventually scored on a wild pitch. And the Braves tied it up on a Ronnie Gant homer to left field in the 3rd, as Jody's not able to catch up with that high fastball. Jody has hit good and well in his career coming into the game at .308 with 3 homers and 10 runs batted in, though Gooden has struck him out 8 times. Jody about the only Brave that is yet to get untracked offensively, as Ronnie Gant has started to snap out of it a little bit. 2-1 to count. And that's certainly no surprise. He throws a lot of innings. He has tremendous stuff. And that fastball is fouled right above our heads. 2-2 the count. And if you want to break it down by months, Jody, a .260 hitter in April. Nobody on. 1 out. The 2-2 pitch on its way. Strike 3 call. Gooden has his 5th strikeout.
It's the old heater. Call strike 3, and Jody's now about 1 for his last 28.
And that's what happens when you're in a slump. You find yourself guessing with 2 strikes, and often guessing wrong, as Jeff Treadway, who was robbed by Darryl Strawberry his last time up. Strawberry making a diving catch on a ball sinking in front of him and doubling off Deion James, as the Braves had runners at 1st and 2nd, 1 out. Treadway again hits the ball hard, but right at Greg Jeffries, and Gooden has a 1-2-3 Braves 4th. After 3.5, we're tied at 1.
This telecast is authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club and is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club, the Braves, is prohibited.
As you see, we're tied at 1. Strawberry, McReynolds, and Johnson 4, 5, and 6 in Davy Johnson's order to face Pete Smith. Strawberry takes low. Pete has become a strikeout pitcher this season. In 24 and 2/3 innings, he has 27 Ks. He has 4 in this game, and throws Strawberry that changeup and evens the count at 1. One and 2 the count. High fastball after the changeup. Strawberry back in the lineup after a 5-game absence due to a shoulder injury. And had no chance on that changeup moving away from him. 5 strikeouts now for Peter Smith.
Well, when you can throw a Hummer about 90 miles an hour and then throw this dead fish up there. Down and away. Beautiful pitch on the circle change.
And they'll bring up Kevin McReynolds, who was a strikeout victim his first time. So far this inning, Peter has that high fastball and that changeup going. And it appears that the Mets are having trouble distinguishing one from the other. Although McReynolds hit that one, and Ronnie Gant was true to the task. 2 away.
We saw a little bit of an ice cream cone there on the glove of Ron Gant, but he held on for dear life. That ball was really hit. A line drive by McReynolds. Watch the ice cream cone right there. That away, Ron. He holds on. Ball was hammered.
With 2 out, Howard Johnson's the batter. As hard as that ball was hit, if he had caught it in the middle of the webbing, it might have hurt. Yeah. Or the middle of the palm of the glove. Johnson grounded to second his first time up.
Trying to think what Johnson added, and it's very obvious now. He didn't have that beard last year. Had a mustache, Howard Johnson.
Yeah, he and Tim Tuffle sporting that 4-day growth. As that's foul past first base coach Bill Robinson.
It's before your time, Billy, but years ago, this team, semi-pro team up in New England, called themselves the House of David. And they came around with beards, and everybody said, look at those funny guys.
I remember
they could play, too. They could play ball. Most of them were ex-professional baseball players.
Smith ahead of the count. 2 strikes. 2 outs, nobody on. Strike 3. Peter strikes out 2 in the 4th. He now has 6 as he goes through the Mets 1, 2, 3. After 4 complete, we're tied at 1. Another tight, well-pitched ball game. Tied at 1. Braves batting in the top of the 5th. Last night, the Braves losers 2-1. Of the 2 runs the Braves have scored in this brief 2-game series, Ronnie Gant. His home runs have accounted for both runs. Peter Smith leads off the Braves 5th. Peter was robbed by Kevin Elster on a ball hit up the middle. His first time up. Takes high and inside for ball 1.
I think the main difference between Pete Smith this year and last year, Bill, first the pitch. He appears to be, and it can happen. He's only 23 years old, but it seems like he's picked up a couple of feet on his fastball. Last season, very seldom did he strike out a lot of people with a fastball. He's gotten several today, and against San Francisco, he had 13 strikeouts. Let's see. Harvey threw the ball back, the new baseball back at Gooden. Let's see. Did it hit him? Yes, right there. Good camera work, guys.
Watch
the ball
out.
is foul back, and Gooden, looking down at the ground, didn't see the ball thrown by the umpire, Doug Harvey. And luckily, Harvey throws about 10 miles an hour.
The 1-1 pitch. Curveball outside. 2-1 the count. That'll make the highlight reel. Watch out, flying baseball. Peter looking for his first hit of the season. And he's ahead of the count. 3 balls, 1 strike.
But also remember Pete Smith, who was the first-round draft pick by the Phillies in '84, had some arm problems early in his career. So he's coming back and pitching very well here tonight again.
came over with Ozzie Virgil in that Bedrosian Milt Thompson deal. Popped him up in shallow center field. Jeffries waves off Dykstra, and there's one away.
And speaking of Milt Thompson, he got traded to St. Louis. He's a real neat kid. You're happy. You hope that he has a successful major league career. He has a 15-game hitting streak going for the St. Louis Cardinals. Milt Thompson.
Yeah, he's currently hitting at .397, second in the league to Will Clark's .406. And that brings up the RBI guy in this series for the Braves, Ronnie Gant, the leadoff batter. Ronnie in his second game after being inserted back in the leadoff spot. He had been batting 5th and 6th in the order. The 0-1 pitch. Gooden paints the outside corner. 2 strikes. Of course, Ronnie had a lot of his success last season in the leadoff spot, in which he turned in 19 homers and 60 runs batted in. 1-2 the count. You get the feeling that it'll be a little thing that'll win this game, as Gooden again misses high and outside. The count evens at 2. Lonnie Smith, who had been leading off, is now the second place hitter, and he is on deck. Curveball, and it didn't appear that Ronnie's heart was in that one. Gooden with a good curveball on the outside part of the plate. Looked like Gant was looking for a heater.
This is the old sweeper. A big curveball. Right on the corner, low and away. Nobody can hit that one.
Doc now has 6 strikeouts. And Lonnie Smith, who has been perfect so far on the night, swings at a strike. Lonnie singled to center and stole a base his first time, and walked and stole a base his second time. Count evens at 1. The outfield plays Lonnie straight up, and left fielder McReynolds rather deep in the outfield. The 1-1 pitch is fouled back this way.
You know, Billy, you talk about going over the hitters and you say this guy can't hit low and away, this guy can't hit tight, change up on this fella, and you know how you can get these people out. But what makes it such a great game is a pitcher can't do it all the time. He can try to go low and away, makes a little mistake, gets hurt. If you could always put it right there, you'd probably never lose.
And Lonnie's on base for the 3rd time tonight, though I imagine that had a little discomfort with it.
He tried to jam him. High, tight fastball, and Lonnie Smith didn't have a chance. And he's not going to rob. He has not touched that spot yet.
Two outs. 1 on, and Lonnie, who has already stolen 2 bases.
He might go again right now just for that. There he goes. How many times have I seen that when a guy gets hit with a ball, he doesn't rub, just runs to first base and says, take this because I'm going to swipe another base on you. It's Smith's way of getting back at Gooden, but also they've been running on the dock tonight. And that's his 3rd stolen base tonight.
Lonnie now has 7 stolen bases on the season. He's in scoring position, 2 outs. And Gerald Perry, one of the better Braves in hitting with men in scoring position, if not the best. Came up short on it. High curveball. 1-1 the count.
That's what they pay attention to, and that's a little much, really. He's got to cut that down because the runners are taking advantage of it.
I don't know how much he's going to work on it if the runners aren't going to score on him.
No, you can't, and you can't do that because all of a sudden you say, don't lift your leg as high, Dwight. I mean, Doc, you got to hold these guys on, and might hurt his delivery to the plate. So they're working a little bit.
Well, I'm sure Don Sutton, who will come over after this half inning, will talk about that. But as I understand most pitchers, and I'm sure Sutton is of the same belief, you got to worry about that guy at the plate,
Sure.
especially in a situation like this with 2 outs, a guy in scoring position.
I'll never forget Satchel Paige. He was with the Braves just for a little bit. Somebody asked Satchel about his pickoff move to first. He says, I don't have one. You don't? He said, no one ever gets on. And he didn't worry about that. He worried about the hitter.
Strike 3 call. Gooden now has 7 strikeouts, and the Braves strand a base runner at second. We're at the halfway point and tied at 1.
Bottom half of the 5th inning about to begin. There's your score. Pete Van Weeren, Don Sutton with you now on Braves TV as Gary Carter leads it off against Pete Smith and takes a breaking ball for a strike in the outside corner. Carter a strikeout victim his first time. We have seen 13 strikeouts tonight. Gooden has 7. Pete Smith has 6. The 0-1. 0-2.
Pete, it's so easy when you have a Dwight Gooden out there to lose sight of the fact that there might be somebody else matching him pitch for pitch, and certainly Pete Smith has done that.
The 0-2 on the way to Gary Carter. Strike 3 call. Got him with an inside corner breaking ball. 7th strikeout for Pete Smith.
I'm not sure if Gary is unhappy that he was called out on strikes or if he's unhappy that he took a very hittable curveball. Pete Smith had made 2 great pitches down and away with the curveball. That one stayed inside. As we've said before, that's one of those pitches where if they swing and hit it, it's a hanger. If you take it, great pitch.
1 out. Here's Kevin Elster, who fouled to the catcher his first time. That'll be out of play. 0-1. And Don, you mentioned that Pete Smith is matching Dwight Gooden pitch for pitch in this game. It's not just this game. That streak goes back a little bit.
Well, their last 3 games, each has pitched around 20 innings. Each has given up 6 earned runs. Pete Smith struck out 23, Gooden 16, but Pete's 0-2 and Gooden's 2-0. So a lot of times it's not how you pitch, it's where you pitch and when.
That'll be out of play, and the count 0-2 on Kevin Elster. Well, I tell you, if you like pitching, this is the series to be watching. We had a great duel last night between Zane Smith and David Cone, and Pete Smith and Dwight Gooden picking right up where they left off tonight.
I think it's only appropriate that you see that here because the Mets are always synonymous with good pitching, and they have a great pitching staff, and the Braves are not far away from having one just like it. And I think the Mets are the standard by which other organizations are measured in the development of pitchers.
The 0-2 missing. 1-2 now on Kevin Elster. A run on 2 hits for the Braves, a run on 2 hits for the Mets. We're in the bottom half of the 5th. And the 1-2 popped him up. See if it'll stay in play. Jody Davis and Gerald Perry both coming over, but neither will have a chance at it. Gerald picks up a couple of all-star votes.
That's a good way to do it. Everybody wants a ball. One of those, you have to make a choice there if you're Gerald. You have 100 people wanting the ball, so you toss it to 1 and 99 dislike you, or you can keep it and have 100 dislike you.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Before the year's over, people are going to compare more and more this young Atlanta Brave club and the 1969 Mets, and they're going to start with the pitchers.
The 1-2 got him with a breaking ball. 8 strikeouts for Pete Smith.
Well, everybody knows Pete Smith has a good fastball, and we've seen him use his changeup very effectively to Darryl Strawberry tonight, but he has such tight spin on that slider, on that breaking ball there, that it's so hard to pick it up, and nobody's really made contact on that at all tonight.
Gooden had an infield hit back in the 3rd. Didn't get the breaking ball. 0-1.
You can tell he's getting comfortable with it, too, because he's throwing it at all counts. He's throwing it behind in the count, he's throwing it to finish hitters, and he's starting hitters off with it.
That one missed. The count 1-1. It's not that Pete Smith didn't get any strikeouts last year. He had 124 strikeouts in 195 innings. But this year, the last 3 or 4 starts, he really seems to be developing into a strikeout type of pitcher. There's a drive down the left field line by Gooden. It's going to fall fair. We'll see how far Gooden will go. He's on his way to second. Here's the throw by Lonnie Smith, and in safely with a double. Here's Dwight Gooden. He has 2 of New York's 3 hits.
He's a good hitting pitcher. We've said that over on the radio side. There's also a saying that if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you live by the curve, you die by it. Only if you leave it inside. That's the same pitch that Gary Carter took for strike 3. But Gooden, being a good hitting pitcher, stayed in there and pulled it. The defense was shifted around to the right. Lonnie did a good job of getting over there, but it was a sure double.
So with 2 outs, Gooden at second. Here's Dykstra, who walked in the first, fly to center in the third. Ball 1, low and away. Getting back to the Pete Smith strikeouts for a moment. He now has 30 strikeouts in his last 24 innings. If you go back to that 13 strikeout game they had against the Giants. Those are Nolan Ryan type of numbers.
Anytime you get more than 9 per 9 innings pitched, that's ranking up there with Koufax and Gibson and, as you say, Ryan.
The 1-0. Bounces up there. Good stop by Jody Davis. 2-0.
Dykstra is such a small target as a hitter that sometimes there's a temptation when you're a pitcher just to try to throw all fastballs, and that's not just exactly what a little man wants you to do. But in most cases, the little men are not good breaking ball hitters. They want that fastball up in their eyes. That's why they crouch, so they can guide it.
Down at second, Dwight Gooden. 2 men out, 1-1 game, bottom of the 5th. And the 2-0 with the shortstop breaking back is driven by Perry in the right field. Base hit. Gooden rounds third. He'll score. And the Mets take a 2-1 lead. And there's Len Dykstra again, right in the middle of a Mets run. His 5th RBI of the year.
Well, he's a pesky little hitter, and he'll put it in play. What I think we should note, not only the single that just got past Gerald Perry, but Andres Thomas had Gooden picked off at second base. They used what's called a daylight play. That means that if he gets between it, he had him picked off. Gooden wasn't even moving. He was moving the other way. Now, Pete Smith had already made the turn. That was the daylight play. If the infielder gets daylight between him and the runner toward the bag, you have to turn and throw. And Gooden was not expecting anything. He was breaking the third.
So it's a 2-1 New York lead now. Their 4th hit off of Pete Smith. Greg Jeffrey is the batter. He has singled and struck out. Dykstra chased back.
Those things are filed away, and you'll be reminded, and it's all a part of the learning process.
Again, Dykstra chased back. The Mets have scored 4 runs in this series. 2 last night. Len Dykstra scored one of them, drove in one of them. 2 tonight. Len Dykstra has scored one of them and driven in one of them.
Sounds like we're watching replays on TNT, doesn't it? Old movie.
Again, Dykstra chased back.
Pete's probably wanting to hold him close, but he's probably also getting rid of a little frustration by throwing over, because those aren't your nonchalant tosses to first.
Dykstra going on the pitch to Jeffries. The throw by Davis sails through into center field. Good play by Treadway. Will keep Dykstra at second. He was thinking about going to third, but Jeff Treadway kept that ball from getting into deep center field.
He had a good jump, and he's one of those runners that may not have blinding speed, but he's going full bore at about his second step. Jody really didn't have time to throw him out. Great play by Treadway to keep him from going to third.
Stolen base number 3 of the year for Dykstra. Count of 1 ball, no strikes on Jeffries.
There's a little conversation going on the mound with Jody, Andres Thomas, and Pete Smith, and you can bet Be Alive for the pickoff is somewhere thrown in there.
2 outs in the inning. All of this started after 2 were out. The double by Dwight Gooden, the run-scoring single by Len Dykstra. Now the stolen base, putting Dykstra down at second. And the pitch coming to Jeffries. Line into right field. That's a base hit. Dykstra rounds third. He will score. Jeffries heading for second. Here's the throw. Cut off by Treadway. And the Mets now lead it 3-1. Jeffries, who hasn't been hitting much for average, has just picked up his 8th RBI of the season. And that leads the Mets.
Well, he got a breaking ball inside. Pete's been keeping that breaking ball down and into the left-handers and the changeup down and away. But he got a breaking ball inside over the middle of the plate. Jeffries, and he pulled it into the corner. Deion James made a good play coming up with that, and I don't think Jeff Treadway thought they had a shot at second base, but if that had gone through, it could have been close there.
So 3 straight 2-out hits here in the bottom half of the 5th inning have put 2 Mets runs on the board. New York now leading by a 3-1 score, and here's Magadan, who is lined to short and fly to left. Smith delivers and misses outside.
It's not a bad time for a visit from either Jody or maybe even from Bruce or somebody, because Pete looks like he's just getting a little bit frustrated, overthrowing, trying to get that last out and trying to do it all with one pitch. These are the times you need to remind him, and he'll learn just to back it down a notch and make the same pitches.
Outside again, 2-0. Paul Ossenmacher up in the Atlanta bullpen. A little bit early in the game for Ossenmacher to be up. Two men out. Down at second, Jeffries. And the 2-0 pitch. All the way by Magadan, 2-1. Mets with a 3-1 lead. In 11 of their first 18 games, New York scored 3 runs or less. So they have not been putting a lot of runs on the board. There's the 2-1 delivery, and that's high. 3-1. Jim Acker has now joined Paul Ossenmacher in the Atlanta bullpen. And here comes Bruce Dalcanton with that visit.
Well, you can see it. You can see that Pete is overthrowing, and that's a term we use really too much. Overthrowing, we use it as a catch-all, I think, when we can't think of anything else to say. But there is a groove. We talk about being in a groove. There's a comfort level. There is a certain amount of energy that each pitcher can expend, and there's a certain amount of effort that he can put into it. And anytime you go above or below that zone, then you're either going to throw badly. Well, if you go below it, you're going to have nothing. But if you get out of your comfort level, and if you get out of the spot that you're supposed to pitch in, you're not going to throw the ball over the plate. And Pete, on his last 4 pitches, has just been grunting and groaning and falling all over the place. And I think he's got to get back to just, hey, okay, I'm just going to be relaxed and pop the ball.
3 balls, 1 strike to Magadan. Foul back, and the count full now, 3-2.
And you could see there that was a much more compact, a simpler delivery. One of the toughest things about it being a pitching coach is that you know that every now and then you're going to have to go out and say something like that. But what's the time and how do you word it? Because we're all different and we all receive information in different ways, and you can't go running out there and lecture the kid, but you have to come out and say, wait a minute now, just back it down. Your stuff's good enough. Just get it in the strike zone.
The 3-2 now on the way to Magadan. Foul away again. Magadan, a very good contact hitter. Tough to strike him out.
He has a 298 lifetime batting average, and he inside outs the ball, so those kind of guys are tough to strike out, and most of the time they hit the ball the other way.
He had 314 at bats last year and struck out only 39 times.
That puts him up with the Gwynns and those kind of guys who put it in play.
Jeffries at second, and a 3-2 pitch again to Magadan. Fouled off at the plate. Pitchers have only struck him out twice this year in 21 at-bats.
The temptation, if you're a pitcher, when you see a guy that doesn't strike out very much, and say, well, I'm going to be the one that gets him, and you end up making pitches that aren't yours, rather than saying, okay, he's not going to strike out. I'm going to try to put it in a spot where he's not going to hit it very hard.
Another 3-2 on the way from Pete Smith. And again, it's fouled off.
These kind of guys used to drive me nuts.
I think you're not alone in that category.
Well, you make so many good pitches. Well, first of all, you want to kick yourself for getting the 3-2. But then you get the 3-2 and you make 5 pitches in a row, good spots. He can't handle them. Just keep flicking them away and flicking them away. And usually sooner or later, he either hits a rocket at somebody for an out or he hits one where nobody's standing. Let's hope it's the rocket at somebody for an out.
Again, the 3-2. Bounce off the glove of Pete Smith. He can't find it. Shortstop Andres Thomas will pick it up and have no play. And runners will be at first and third for Darryl Strawberry. And this is going to be all for Pete Smith, as Russ Nixon is on his way to the mound. You know, Don, I think in another situation, if it weren't for the fact that Dwight Gooden was pitching for the New York Mets, and if the Braves had been scoring a few more runs of late, you might see Pete Smith left in there for one more hitter, but not this time.
No, I don't think. I think you're right. He knows he's not going to get any runs, and it's amazing how a little play like this can be the difference. If he gets more of the ball or less of the ball, it's an out. But trying to field his position, he jumped up and just got enough of the glove on it to knock it down so nobody could throw anybody out. And I think when you look back over this inning, there are a number of ways it could have gone differently. If Gooden is picked off at second base, then it could be different, but it's not. Now they're 2 on. It's 3-1. Pete is out, Ossenmacher's in, and we'll be back right after this.
The new Atlanta pitcher, Paul Ossenmacher, making his 6th appearance of the year. As you can see, he has not given up an earned run. The only run he allowed an unearned run, and that beat him for his only decision of the year. And he'll be facing Darryl Strawberry here with runners at first and third, 2 men out, and the Mets leading it now by a score of 3-1.
He's known for his curveball, and it's a good one, but his fastball's alive. Runs away from a right-hander into a left-hander. And you can see what Russ is thinking here. He wants to keep the game close. He needs to get a left-hander against Strawberry, who is a left-hander, and figures that he's not going to get a chance for many runs off Gooden, so therefore he can't have to score 5 to get even.
Strawberry against Pete Smith had no luck. He struck out swinging twice. And he'll be stepping in there now to face the left-hander Paul Ossenmacher with runners at first and third and 2 men out.
Kind of an unusual stat from Darryl Strawberry. He drove in over 100 runs last year, but he only hit 201 with men in scoring position.
Very much like Glenn Davis of Houston. Davis had 99 RBIs and hit something like 210 with runners in scoring position.
When you hit 39 home runs, that accounts for a lot of them.
And as you can see, he has handled lefties almost equally well as right-handers when it comes to hitting the long ball. First and third, 2 outs, 3-1 Mets, bottom of the 5th. Ossenmacher on in relief of Pete Smith. Ball 1. Smith worked 4 2/3, allowed 6 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 3 runs to this point. The 1-0, foul back, 1-1 on Strawberry, who didn't play for 5 games because of a shoulder injury. But the Mets went on and won 4 of those 5 as they filled in well. At third, Greg Jeffries. At first, Dave Magadan. The 1-1. Up and in, 2-1. Now the 2-1 on the way, and that misses. Jim Acker continues in the Atlanta bullpen. A right-hand hitter, Kevin McReynolds, due up next. Count of 3 balls and 1 strike now on Strawberry. On the play, 3-2. So the runner at first, Dave Magadan, will get a head start here.
May not seem like it's very important, but all that extra head start makes it a lot easier to score if Strawberry would have hit a double. I always tell you when you're pitching to try to stay out of deep counts because you don't want the runners going. Well, other reasons too, but that's one of them.
And now the 3-2 on the way, and Strawberry takes strike 3 called inside corner. So he's down on strikes for the third time tonight. Nossenmacher puts out the fire in the bottom half of the fifth inning. But the Mets pick up 2, and we go to the 6th with New York leading it 3-1. We go to the top half of the 6th inning. Mets leading at 3-1. One other final has just come in from Pittsburgh. San Diego just beat the Pirates for the second straight night. 3-1 the final there. Bruce Hurst picks up his 3rd win. Jack Clark a home run for San Diego. And Dale Murphy will lead off here in the 6th against Dwight Gooden. Murphy has struck out twice. Did not get the curveball. 0-1. Murph struck out his last 3 times up last night against David Cohn. So Mets pitchers have gotten Murph 5 straight times now in this series. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, Gooden has only walked 3, Pete, but he struggled with his control all night. He's been behind in the count. Nice thing about being a power pitcher and having a strikeout is if you can strike out 7 people, you can afford that.
There's a strike 1 and 2. Let's talk about the number of pitches. 91 pitches to this point, only the 6th inning. Could become a factor a little bit later.
It's a lot of pitches, but also Davey Johnson has said he has a bullpen that he'll run out there, and he said, I have no closer, I have a bunch of closers. So it's a nice luxury for him.
Now the 1-2 to Murph. Struck him out again. 8 strikeouts for Dwight Gooden. 1 out in the top of the 6th.
It seems like the book on Murph has become, if you can get him to chase 1 breaking ball, then you go right back upstairs with the fastball. Not too many people are trying to keep the ball down. The old rule of thumb is pitch down with your fastball and pitch away with the breaking stuff, but people are going at him upstairs and out of the strike zone.
Here's Andres Thomas, who is fly to center and fouled out to right. Ball 1 the count. Toward third, Howard Johnson's throw across. Gets Andres Thomas, and a big cheer from the crowd here in New York because early in the season, Howard Johnson was having all kinds of difficulty on those throws. He made something like 4 throwing errors in 4 games early in the year.
Well, his shoulder was bothering him in spring training, and I talked to him down at Port St. Lucie, and he said it was coming along, but he said it's not so much that it's hurting me when I throw. He said, I just got to tell you the truth. There are times when I pick it up and turn it loose, and I have no idea where it's going, and those fans behind first base over there will attest to that.
Now Deion James, who has walked and grounded out. Little chopper out toward short. Kevin Elster with a long throw. And a very easy inning for Dwight Gooden. Braves go quietly in the top of the 6th. After 5.5, still 3-1 New York.
It's the Mets over the Braves 3-1 in the 6th here at Shea Stadium. U.S. Diving Championships in Boca Raton, Florida, with John Neighbor and Cynthia Potter, and Gatorade Track and Field Classic with Ron Thulin, Craig Masbach, and Dwight Stone. Studio host will be Craig Sager this Saturday at 6:05 Eastern Time on the Superstation.
We go to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Pete Van Weer and Don Sutton with you from Shea Stadium. Crowd of over 40,000 on hand. Mets leading at 3-1. Kevin McReynolds will lead it off against Paul Ossenmacher, who's on in relief of Pete Smith. McReynolds has looked at a 3rd strike and lined out to 3rd. A ball and no strikes on Kevin McReynolds. Day off for the Braves tomorrow. Weekend series in Montreal. Then the Braves back home against these same Mets on Monday night. And that'll be Dwight Gooden's next start. One ball, 1 strike. Two and 1 to count of McReynolds. Here's the 2-1 delivery. The changeup in there for a strike. 2-2. Skip Curry will be rejoining us in Montreal on Sunday after his basketball assignment.
I'm really sorry I won't be there to welcome him at the airport. Sunflower.
Help him through customs?
Yeah.
Here's the 2-2. High and deep to left. Back goes Lonnie Smith. This one's way out of here.
Well, he's done it 29 times at 87, 27 times at 88. And one of the nice things, as far as he's concerned about being in this lineup, is that he's usually hitting between two left-handers, and other clubs stack left-handers against him. This time it's a left-handed reliever, but when he gets his pitch, he does not miss it.
Howard Johnson takes a strike. 3 home runs on the year now for Kevin McReynolds. That was his 8th RBI. That makes it 4-1 New York. Johnson has grounded to second and struck out. On the play, 0-2. That was the 15th home run the Mets have hit as a team this year. The 13th solo home run.
In 1986, Kevin McReynolds was offered to the California Angels for Gary Pettis. And the deal was turned down because somebody said he looks like he has bad work habits, and I think he's lazy. Well, he just does everything with so much ease that he looks like that he's not hustling when he's just gliding.
Johnson down on strikes. Second strikeout for Ossenmacher. 9th strikeout for Atlanta pitching. 1 out in the 6th. And Gary Carter will step in. He has struck out twice. 4 runs, 7 hits now for New York. 1 run, 2 hits for the Braves. We're in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Mets closing out a homestand. They've won 6 of 8 on this homestand, turning their season around after starting slowly. They lost 7 of their first 10 games this year. But I think the only people that were really worried were the media here in New York. Davey Johnson kept his cool through the slow start, said it's a long season, we'll be all right. Toward third, right at the bag, Ron Gant throws out Carter, 2 down.
You could have a bad at bat here, and media in this city can write you off. This would be a tough place to play.
Did you ever want to play here?
Back when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Yankee. I was one of those strange kids. I grew up in Alabama in that Baptist environment. I wanted to kick for Notre Dame and pitch for the Yankees, and my folks wanted to have me psychoanalyzed, but I did. I wanted to play for the Yankees.
Ball 1 to Kevin Elster, who fouled to the catcher and struck out in his first 2 at-bats. That home run by Kevin McReynolds, the first earned run given up by Paul Ossenmacher this year. There's a strike, 1-1.
Then in 1977 in the spring, I was traded here for Tom Seaver, John Hale and I, but he had approval of the deal. He turned it down, so I didn't come here.
So you would have been a Met if Tom Seaver had okayed that deal.
I would have been a Met.
2-1 the count on Kevin Elster. Mets leading at 4-1. Did not have a good swing at that one. 2-2 the count.
Did have one big thrill in this city. I started the 1977 All-Star game over at Yankee Stadium and got the win and the MVP, so it was a big thrill.
And that takes care of Elster. Another strikeout. Ossenmacher with 3 strikeouts. Braves pitchers with 10 strikeouts. But in between the strikeouts, the Mets keep adding to their lead. The Kevin McReynolds home run has made it 4-1 New York. The Mets have opened up a 4-1 lead as we go to the top half of inning 7. Lower third of the order due up for Atlanta. Jody Davis, Jeff Treadway, and then we'll see a pinch hitter for Paul Ossenmacher. And there's the man who's held the Braves to 2 hits. One of them a home run by Ron Gant. Braves only with 7 hits in this series off of Cohn and Gooden. Randy Myers, who came in to save it for Cohn last night. Jody Davis has walked and struck out. They've Davis will step out. Gooden didn't feel comfortable. Paid attendance tonight, 39,665. 39,665. Nothing in one to Jody Davis.
You'd be amazed what a 3-run lead can do for your control.
Gooden, who was behind in the count quite a bit early in the game when it was tied. Has a 1-ball, 1-strike count now on Jody Davis, but since they've gotten him a couple runs, you're right, he's pitching ahead in the count much more. Here's the 1-1. High in the air, out to shallow right field. Darryl Strawberry for the out, 1 down. And that'll bring up Jeff Treadway, who had a fly ball to shallow right in the second that turned into a 9-6 double play. Hit the ball hard, a line drive, but right at the second baseman, Greg Jeffries, in the 4th. No strikes on Jeff Treadway. When Jeff arrived at the ballpark today with Derek Lilliquist, he walked in the clubhouse and said, "Whew, we made it." I said, "Made what?" First the 1-0 pitch. 1-1. It was the Georgia Bulldogs' first attempt at the New York City subway system. Here's the 1-1. Popped him up. See if it'll stay in play and foul ground. Elster calls off Howard Johnson and takes it 2 down.
That's good communication there, because the guy with the best angle at the ball should take it. A lot of times the third baseman will be under it and having to turn all kinds of different ways, and the shortstop will have the better angle but will not call him off. Anytime the player who has the best angle, that player should call him off.
Terry Blocker on now to pinch hit for Paul Ossenmacher. Terry is hitless in 3 at-bats since coming up from Richmond. 6 in a row, retired now by Dwight Gooden. 4-1 New York. We're in the top of the 7th. The ball and no strikes on Blocker. Terry called up a week ago, and Tommy Gregg went down with that broken bone in his foot. Going to be another couple of weeks before Gregg is ready to play. Two 2-0 the count on Blocker as the first 2 pitches weren't even close from Dwight Gooden. He bounced a curveball up there and then let that one sail all the way back to the screen. Strike 2-1. Jim Acker will be the next Atlanta pitcher in the bottom half of the inning. There's Jim, who's ready to come on in. There's the 2-1, and that misses. 3-1.
Can we get that shot of the bullpen again back there? If we can, just look at that. Wouldn't you love to be a catcher down there warming up some of these guys that throw so hard? I swear they have 3 flashlights and 1 candle down there.
It is dark in those bullpens, and that's outside ball 4. So just like that, Dwight Gooden, falling behind in the count, loses Terry Blocker. That's the first walk he has issued since back in the 3rd. His 4th walk overall.
It was the first time he'd been behind a batter for 5 batters that he did walk. Normally what they do, our catchers down there, they give them liner's lamps to put on their helmets up there so you can spot the ball. It's dark back there.
Here's Ron Gant, who struck out in the 1st, homered in the 3rd, struck out again in the 5th. Blocker chased back. The Braves have been running liberally on Dwight Gooden tonight. Lonnie Smith has tied Atlanta Braves record with 3 stolen bases. Leon James also stole a base. Hit high and deep to left field again. Kevin McReynolds goes back to the edge of the warning track and makes the catch. Oh, Dwight Gooden thought he might have thrown another gopher ball. His reaction when that ball was hit, but it stayed in the ballpark, and that's it for Atlanta in the 7th. We go to the bottom half, still 4-1 New York. We go to the bottom of the 7th. It's a 4-1 New York lead. Jim Acker becomes the 3rd Atlanta pitcher. He makes his 10th appearance of the year. No record, a 1.98 ERA. He replaces Paul Ossenmacher, who worked an inning and a third, allowed 1 hit, that home run by Kevin McReynolds. No walks and 3 strikeouts for Ossenmacher. And Dwight Gooden will lead off here in the bottom of the 7th. Besides pitching a 2-hitter, he has gone 2 for 2 at the plate, a single and a double. And he has scored 1 run. Acker delivers. 0-1 to Dwight Gooden. Jim pitched in last night's game, worked an inning, gave up 1 hit and struck out 1. Quickly ahead 0-2. And even though you would think that's an effective inning of work, talking to Jim after the game, he wasn't pleased. He wasn't pleased that he gave up that base hit. It was the pitcher, David Cohn, that got it. And there's strike 3 call to Dwight Gooden. And that is the 11th strikeout by Braves pitching in this game. Rick Aguilera, the right-hander, Bob Ojeda, the lefty. Out on the Mets bullpen, they're just doing some throwing out there.
Ojeda's not too happy about being there either.
No, they carried a couple of interviews with Bob Ojeda in the New York newspaper today. He's been bumped back. His next start will not come this weekend as scheduled. It'll come next Tuesday in Atlanta. And there were some expletives deleted in some of the quotes from Bob Ojeda. Pitch is taken low by Len Dykstra. So it's walked, flied out, and singled.
Typical Dykstra night. He walked and scored a run. He single, drove in a run, and scored another run.
And lines another base hit into right field. Second hit of the night for Len Dykstra, who has been right in the middle of just about every run scored by the Mets in this series. He's either scored or driven in 5 of the 6 runs the Mets have scored in these 2 games. Greg Jeffries with a single, a strikeout, and a run-scoring double steps in. 8 hits now for New York.
Normally, if you get a guy 6'4" up there, you try to pitch to corners and up and down. But with a short guy, sometimes you just get caught up just wanting to throw the ball over the plate. And that's what they want. They want you just to throw a fastball over the plate. And when they do just like, when you do, they do just like that. They guide it somewhere for a base hit.
Dykstra stole his 3rd base of the season back in the 5th inning. There's a strike on the outside corner to Jeffries, 0-1. Jeffries starting slowly, but the same thing happened to him last year at AAA ball. In mid-May of last year, he was hitting only 143 at Tidewater, and then finished strong, getting the average up to 280 before he was called up by New York. And you wouldn't think that would happen with a Greg Jeffries, who is a conditioning nut. Goes to spring training ready to go opening day. He's ready to go from that very first day on.
Well, he's in great shape, but probably what he does is have to refine your skills. Conditioning in preparation for a season is 2 things. Getting in physical shape, but you have to refine your skills, and apparently it takes him longer.
1 ball, 1 strike on the pitch out. Dykstra wasn't going.
Pete, I think he was going and picked the pitch out up because he broke hard off there, and then in looking back or having Jim quicken his move, he short-circuited it and turned around and went back.
You see Jody Davis looking over to the Braves dugout to see if Russ Nixon wants another pitch out here. With a count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Grounded toward third on a broken bat. Gant goes to second, 1. Treadway on to first, and he is still able to turn that double play. Lenny Dykstra went in hard. The throw pulled Treadway right into the runner, but he was still able to turn it. And that's it for the Mets in the 7th. We go to the 8th. Still 4-1.
It's 4-1 here in the 8th as the Braves come to bat. Here's your Delta scoreboard. Los Angeles beats Chicago 3-1 today. Mike Morgan winning. Rick Sutcliffe the loser. San Diego and Pittsburgh. It's 3-1 San Diego. Hurst the winner. Montreal and Cincinnati. Cincinnati 4-2 in the 8th inning. Philadelphia and Houston, it's 2-1 Houston in the 4th, and San Francisco and St. Louis are all tied up in the 5th inning. To the American League, Texas by 1 over Cleveland. Milwaukee bombed Minnesota. It's a 4-4 tie in Boston in the 8th. Boston and Chicago. 2-1 Kansas City over New York in the 4th. And late starts in California with Detroit there. And in Oakland with Baltimore there. And that's your Delta scoreboard up to the minute. Toronto and Seattle, yeah, they're a late start too. Now that's your Delta scoreboard up to the minute.
And we go to the top half of the 8th inning. Lonnie Smith, Gerald Perry, Dale Murphy do up against Dwight Gooden. Gooden seeking his 4th straight win. Lonnie Smith's been on base 3 times. He was hit once, he walked once, he singled once, and he stole second each time. Ball 1 the count on Lonnie. Gooden making his 5th start, still looks for his first complete game. David Cone has the only complete game pitched by a New York Mets starter this year. As Don mentioned, Davey Johnson's so confident in that bullpen that he will not hesitate at the first sign of trouble to go to any of them. Randy Myers, the left-hander's done a good job. Aguilera's done a good job. Don Ossie's done a good job. Don't forget Roger McDowell out there.
And he has someone throwing down there now, Pete, but I can't see from up here. We'll get a shot of it in a minute.
Count goes to 2-1 on Lonnie Smith.
Looks like Aguilera still.
Gooden's 2-1 delivery. Just missed with a breaking ball. It's 3-1. So again, he's fallen behind in the count. When he's gotten this far behind in the count, he generally hasn't been able to come back and get the hitter. He's either walked him or given up a base hit. That is Rick Aguilera still throwing in the Mets bullpen. Came back with a fastball, got it by Lonnie, and the count 3-2.
Perfect spot with a lot on it. And I would just about bet you if Lonnie gets on, Davey Johnson's not going to waste a lot of time because he's had Aguilera throwing down there since last inning, and he's ready to come in.
Strikeout number 9 for Dwight Gooden. He did come back that time after getting to a 3-1 hole.
Got behind with a wave, but he came back with 2 fastballs in almost identical spots, about belt high, inside off the plate. Impossible to do anything with it.
Now Gerald Perry was struck out twice and reached on an error. And for Gerald to strike out twice in one game, that's saying something. He's a good contact hitter. Thinking about trying to bunt his way on. Takes the pitch low. Ball 1. 4-1. Mets lead it. They're trying to win their 4th game in a row and climb over the 500 mark. Driven toward left, but right at McReynolds. Out number 2 in the 8th. And now Dale Murphy, who has had no luck in this series against either David Cone or Dwight Gooden. He's 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 7 in the series with 6 consecutive strikeouts. Ball 1 the count on Murphy.
Tough time to come to New York and face these two. Dale had been struggling and scuffling, and then when it looked like he found it, but you haven't really etched it in stone yet, you run into Cone and Gooden.
Driven into center field. There's a base hit for Murphy. It's only the 3rd hit given up by Dwight Gooden. The first hit he's allowed since that home run by Ron Gant back in the 3rd. That look on Murph's face, almost as if to say, it's not that tough. I should have done that 2 or 3 times in this series.
I see the ball. I swing at the ball. It's not there. It's not that tough. That's not your average run-of-the-mill fastball you're chasing up there. I would have liked to pitch 1 year with his fastball.
With Dwight Gooden's fastball?
Yeah, I'd have probably fouled it up by throwing it down the middle and getting cocky and getting hammered with it, but it sure would have been fun for a year.
Andres Thomas is 0 for 3, takes a strike. Well, you didn't do too badly.
Yeah, but I had the paint. I mean, it had to be in the spots. Where he threw the 2 to Lonnie, I had to throw all the time. But thankfully, I was able to do it a lot. But, boy, he is just a gifted athlete.
Up the middle by Andres Thomas. Base hit center field. Murphy will stop at second. And the Braves trying to set the table here. They'll bring the tying run to the plate.
And you might see a head pop out of that Met dugout any second now, because I don't think he's going to stay too long with Gooden in this situation.
That's the 4th Atlanta hit.
Then again, I've been wrong before.
Deion James, the batter, he's walked, grounded out to second, grounded out to short. Bud Harrelson stands alongside Davy Johnson. Mel Stottlemyre will be right there, too, the pitching coach.
They don't seem too concerned, do they?
They sure don't. Mel really handles his pitching staff. Davy Johnson has a lot of confidence in Mel Stottlemyre.
Well, you can see some Walter Alston tendencies with Davy Johnson. He believes that his pitcher coach is the manager of pitches, and with that, he entrusts him with the pitchers.
Deion James takes a good fastball inside corner at the knees, 0-1.
You'll see a lot of other managers who just want a stenographer or a telephone operator for a pitching coach, somebody to go out and run the pitchers and then phone down when he wants somebody to warm up. But I think your more confident, secure, successful managers have somebody they can trust, and they let them handle the pitching.
Here's the 0-1 now to Deion James. 1 ball, 1 strike. That is Randy Myers, the left-hander. Roger McDowell, the right-hander, up now in the Mets bullpen. And here's the 1-1 to Deion. That misses. 2-1. Dale Murphy down at second. Andres Thomas, the runner at first. 2 men out. Mets leading at 4-1. We're in the 8th. And the 2-1 pitch coming. Bouncing ball right to the second baseman. Jeffries over to first. And that's it for Atlanta in the 8th. So the Braves unable to do anything with the 2 hits, except strand 2 runners. And we go to the bottom of the 8th. Braves still down by 3.
Well, there you see our score, but it all starts tomorrow night. By that, I mean the NBA playoffs. A doubleheader right here, Philly at New York with Bob Neal and Rick Barry at 8:05. And then Portland at Los Angeles with Pete Van Weert and John McLeod. That's at 10:30. Then Friday, it's Boston at Detroit with Skip Carey and Rick Barry. And then Denver at Phoenix with Pete Van Weert and Steve Jones, followed by Inside the NBA with Fred Hickman. You're going to be busy, Peter.
Going to be doing a little traveling the next couple of days. Dave Magadan leading off the bottom of the 8th. He's 1 for 3 at a base hit back in the 5th inning. That was the one off the glove of Pete Smith. Magadan, Strawberry, McReynolds do up against Jim Acker here in the bottom of the 8th. And the 2-0 coming. And that misses. 3-0.
You watch Dave Magadan hit. His reputation is that of an inside-out hitter. Most hitting instructors will tell you that in order to start your hands forward from that cock position, you have to move them back. If you watch Magadan, his hands never move. He starts from there. So he has to push the ball off. Excuse me. He has to push the ball off. A guy who really swings hard has to go back to set and then start it forward. His hands never move very far, so it would be almost impossible for him to pull it.
Now the 3-1. There's a line drive into left center field. Base hit for Magadan. Hit number 2 off Acker. Hit number 9 of the night for New York. And that'll bring up Darryl Strawberry, who has struck out 3 times tonight. Pete Smith got him twice swinging. Paul Ossenmacher got him once looking. He takes a strike, 0-1. The 1-strike delivery, bouncing ball. Nice diving stop by Treadway. Throws out Darryl Snow. He's called safe. Treadway made a great stop, and it looked like the throw to first got him. Gerald Perry thought so. We'll take a second look.
Jim Acker thought so, too. He hit a sinker into the hole. Treadway had to play in just a little bit in case of the double play. Made a diving stop. It was close, but I think he just made it. Nonetheless, a great play. Stopped Magadan from going to third.
So he did beat that throw by about a half a step. Runners are at first and second. Nobody out for Kevin McReynolds, who hit his 3rd home run of the year his last time up.
He beat that by the difference in being a right-handed hitter and a left-handed hitter, because that left side gave him that one more step.
Besides the home run, McReynolds has struck out and lined out. short double play ball. Thomas to Treadway, one on to first. He got him. Braves turn the 6-4-3 double play. Moving over to third is Magadan. And now Acker with a good chance to get out of the inning.
If we get that, and we do have it, you'll have to go some to see anybody catch the ball and get rid of it faster than Andres Thomas. And Jeff Treadway is doing such a good job at the bag. The inning-ending double play in the 7th, he was almost wiped out by Dykstra, but still turned it over. A nice double play, a pitcher's best friend.
So now the runner is at third with 2 outs for Howard Johnson, who was grounded out once and struck out twice. Time called. Jim Acker needs to tie a shoe out there. With first base open and a struggling Gary Carter on deck, would not be surprising here to see 4 pitches out of the strike zone. See if they could get Johnson to chase one of them.
Well, it won't be the intentional walk, but it'll be that unintentional or intentional.
Ball 1, the count to Howard Johnson.
Just nibbling.
There's Carter, who came into the game hitting just 137, and that's gone down. He's 0 for 3 tonight. He's going after him. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, he took something off that. It looked like he turned it over. Jim Acker has really expanded his pitching repertoire in the last year or so. He's come up with a heck of a good breaking ball, and I think not too many people are aware of how good it is.
He used to throw almost exclusively that sinking fastball. There's your runner at third, Dave Magadan. And there's a breaking ball hit high and deep to right field, and that'll be the icing on the cake for New York. Howard Johnson's third home run of the year. RBIs number 5 and 6. And the Mets now lead it 6-1.
Well, it looked like the sinker, but it's just up in the strike zone. There's one of those times when you're pitching around, you're going to give up home runs, but when you're pitching around someone, it's cardinal sin number 3 to give up one when you're pitching around a hitter.
Now Gary Carter was struck out twice and grounded to third. And he drives one to right. But Deion James is right there for the out. And that's it for New York in the 8th. But 2 big runs added to their lead on the Howard Johnson home run. We go to the 9th. Mets lead it by 5. Well, there's your score, and there's the man that made it 6-1, Howard Johnson, who hit his 2-run homer in the bottom half of the 8th inning, his 3rd of the year, and he is now 7 for 12 with 3 home runs in his career against Jim Acker.
Well, he's a dead fastball hitter, and he likes the ball coming down. A guy who can ride the fastball can get him out with it. You're much better off throwing something else, but that ball was a sinker that just sunk right into his swing. That bullpen's still going.
2 different pitchers up this time. Right-handers Terry Leach and Don Ossie. Jody Davis leads off the night for the Braves. Dwight Gooden trying for his first complete game of the year. Now has a 5-run cushion.
And Davey Johnson will probably give him more opportunities now to get his complete game than he would have in a 4-1 or closer ball game.
Jody tonight has walked, struck out, fly to right. Still mired in that slump. He's just 1 for his last 34. And 2-0 on Jody Davis.
This time of the game and behind by 5, normally what you see a club do is they'll send up their hitters and having them take a strike before they swing at one. Jody's taken all the way on those first 2 pitches.
And he takes that first strike, 2-1. Jeff Treadway will follow them. We'll get a pinch hitter for Jim Acker. If anybody reaches. Back to the top of the order, and Ron Gant. Driven into left field, hit that ball hard, but Kevin McReynolds is right there. And there's the first out in the 9th inning. And now Jeff Treadway, who is 0 for 3. Off day tomorrow. Braves back in action in Montreal Friday night. John Smoltz will face Kevin Gross. That game and Saturday night's game, or Saturday afternoon's game, Tom Glavine against Bryn Smith, will be on Braves radio only. We'll be back televising Sunday afternoon. Derek Lilliquist against Dennis Martinez. In the hole right field, and Treadway reaching with a one-out single. That extends his hitting streak to 7 games. Now we'll get Darrell Evans on as a pinch hitter for Jim Acker.
Did you play with your talking baseball cards yet?
Not yet. Haven't gotten any batteries yet.
You haven't?
No.
That's a pretty interesting concept, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The talking baseball cards. Joe Torre, Frank Torre, Jack Lang, all involved in that. They are baseball cards that you insert into a little player, and you hear the actual voice of a player talking about a big moment in his career.
Do you have a card in the collection?
Do I have one? No, I don't have one.
That ties you with me. I don't have one either. I don't think Darrell does either.
Darrell Evans, 143 for the year, 1 homer, 1 RBI, 1 for 7 as a pinch hitter. And he, too, has been in a bit of a slump, hitless in his last 15 at-bats. As he really is trying to get used to a new role. He was a DH, played some first, played some third for Detroit. The Braves using him almost exclusively as a pinch hitter.
It's a real adjustment when you're used to taking a lot of swings. It's not the same as getting your 10 or 11 swings in BP every day and then having to come out in the 9th inning after you've sat around for about 4 hours since you last swung at that. It's a real adjustment.
Here's the 2-0 from Gooden. And Evans takes a strike, 2-1. Runner at first with 1 out. They're not holding Treadway with a big 5-run lead. We're in the 9th. And the count goes to 3-1. Evans, a very disciplined hitter when he was playing every day, always among the league leaders in walks. Out of play, the count full 3-2. And it's also an adjustment, Don, for Darrell Evans coming back to the National League after all those years over with Detroit. He got to know the pitchers over in that league, and now he's facing a lot of guys he's never seen before. And there is a different style of pitching. The American League is more breaking balls and sinkers. The National League, they're more straight fastballs and more downer curveballs. So there are a couple of adjustments. It's a really difficult thing to do. Here's the 3-2 from Gooden. There's a looping fly ball, shallow center field, but Dykstra on the run is there for the catch. And there are 2 outs in the 9th. And it's all up to Ron Gant. You saw Dave Magadan and Jeff Treadway chatting over there at first base, probably talking about some of the Georgia-Alabama battles they were involved in back in their college days.
Magadan from the Tampa area with Jesuit High School down there. Great player at the University of Alabama.
Ron Gant has accounted for the Braves' only run tonight. Ball 1 the count. Last night, the combination of David Cohn and Randy Myers limited the Braves to 5 hits. Gooden working on a 5-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gant. Gooden has now thrown 136 pitches in this game. But he appears not to have lost much. The 1-1 is the breaking ball that missed 2-1.
That looked like a bigger swing that Ron Gant took than Murph did when he got called out, too.
Here's the 2-1 on the way. At the knees, 2-2. Gant did not like that call. Ron Gant had a couple of words for Doug Harvey. Walks away from the plate. And now the crowd of just under 40,000 here at Shea would like to see Doc Gooden finish up the game with his 10th strikeout. It's full 3-2. Jeff Treadway at first with 2 outs. Mets on top 6-1. Dwight Gooden, just 24 years old, 1 out away from his 95th major league victory.
And 1,077 strikeouts.
Runner going on the 3-2, and down to first goes Ron Gant with a walk. So the Braves' slim hopes still alive here in the ninth. Walk number 5 issued by Gooden, and Lonnie Smith will step in. With 2 men on, 2 men out. Lonnie with a single, a walk. He was hit by a pitch, struck out. He has stolen 3 bases tonight, which ties an Atlanta record. Last time it happened was last year against the Mets when Deion James stole 3 in one game. Got the fastball by him, 0-1.
Were you surprised he wasn't taking them?
With Lonnie Smith, no, because he's so aggressive. He never seems to take that first strike.
I thought there might have been a edict from the dugout on it, but apparently there wasn't.
The 0-1. That misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. We've commented on that before, Don. There have been times when a pitcher has made the second out in an innings, had a long walk back to the dugout on the other side of the field. Lonnie Smith still very aggressive when he steps in there. It's like, that's the way I hit. Regardless of the situation, that's the way he seems to approach every at-bat. 2-1 the count now on Lonnie Smith. Down at second, Jeff Treadway. Over at first, Ron Gant. 2 outs, 9th inning. Mets lead it by 5. And the 2-1 delivery is way upstairs, 3-1. Randy Myers, the left-hander, working now in the Mets bullpen. Gerald Perry due up next. Roger McDowell also out there for New York. Here's the 3-1 to Lonnie, and he lost him. The bases will be loaded now for Gerald Perry. Let's see if Davy Johnson stays with Dwight Gooden here. That's walk number 6 issued by Gooden.
Looks like that's going to be it, too.
So as was the case last night, David Cohn got to within 1 out in the 9th inning when Randy Myers was called upon. Looks like we may get the same situation here tonight. 2 outs in the 9th. The Braves have loaded the bases. A left-hand batter, Gerald Perry, due to hit. And Dwight Gooden will get a standing ovation as he leaves, and Randy Myers comes out of that Mets bullpen one more time.
While Randy Myers is getting loose, let's bring you up to date on the scores. It was L.A. over Chicago, San Diego over Pittsburgh by the same score. Cincinnati now leading Montreal as we go into the 9th. Philadelphia by 1 over Houston in the 5th, and it's all tied up in St. Louis with San Francisco. Texas and Cleveland, Texas by 1. Milwaukee by a bunch. Boston and Chicago tied in the 9th. Kansas City and New York, it's Kansas City by 2 in the 6th. 0-0 in California at the 1st. Same score up in Oakland. And in Seattle, same score, 0-0 in the 1st.
And trying to save his 2nd game in as many nights, left-hander Randy Myers. His 10th appearance. There you see his record. He has recorded 3 saves in 4 save chances. Has not allowed a run in his last 4 outings and in 8 of his 9 games this year. And inherited runners, something that relief pitchers look at. He's had 8 of them on base. None of them have scored. He's got 3 more on base now. Treadway at 3rd, Gant at 2nd, Lonnie Smith at 1st with 2 outs in the 9th, and Gerald Perry at the plate. Gerald 0 for 4 tonight. Upstairs, ball 1. This guy just throws hard.
Throws 95 miles an hour. He's a beauty, too. And he says if he doesn't get enough work in, I'm just going to lift more weights. And his goal in life is to be clocked at 100 miles an hour on a radar gun in a major league game.
He's not far from it. Here's the 1-0 pitch. 1-1. Gooden worked 8 2/3, allowed 5 hits, 1 run. The 3 runners aboard belonged to him. Dwight was a little wild. He walked 6, and he struck out 9. Here's the 1-1. Just missed. 2-1. As you see, Perry has had a tremendous amount of success against left-handers this year. Did not get that fastball. The count 2-2. Myers, who has averaged better than a strikeout per inning in his major league career, has a 2-2 count on Gerald Perry with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the ninth, and that just missed. I don't know how Gerald laid off that pitch.
He may not have seen it. Maybe one of those deals where it sounded outside. It was awfully close.
The 3-2 with the runners going, fouled away. Randy Myers tried to do something that no other left-hander has had much success at this year, and that's strike out Gerald Perry. Gerald has not struck out against a left-hand pitcher this year in 26 at-bats.
I think it's about time to start putting him in the Tony Gwynn category. Maybe not up there on that same level, but he's in that same area as a hitter.
The runners go. The 3-2 fouled off again. Still 3-2. Murphy on deck if Perry can keep it going here. Another 3-2 on the way to Gerald Perry. Did he go? He did, but he fouled it off. Just got a piece of it. It stays 3-2.
I'd like to get to Murph because he's 2 for 3 against Myers with a couple of home runs. And if Gerald Perry can keep it alive, he'll get his shot.
Probably against Roger McDowell.
That's probably true, too. I'm sure if we know it, Davy Johnson knows it.
Again, the 3-2 to Perry. Down the third baseline foul. You saw how close to the line Howard Johnson was playing. And quite a battle going on here between Randy Myers and Gerald Perry, who has fouled off 3 3-2 pitches. Broke his bat on that last one. Back to the dugout for a new one. And he'll step back in with a 3-2 count. Gerald looking for his first hit in this series. He is 0 for 6 in the series. He walked twice in last night's game. Again, the stretch by Myers. Again, the 3-2, and that's the ball game. Randy Myers does it again, striking out Gerald Perry, and the Mets sweep the 2-game set. Final score tonight, New York 6, Atlanta 1. We'll be back. Mets unveiled 2 of their best pitchers in David Cohn and Dwight Gooden in their first 2 games against the Braves this year, and both did the job. Tonight it was Gooden's turn. New York wins it, and Don Sutton has the totals.
For the Braves, 1 run, 5 hits, no errors. Mets got plenty of offense tonight. 6-11-1. Dwight Gooden was the winner. He's now 4-0. Pete Smith took the loss. He's 0-3. One of the stars was Lenny Dykstra, driving in 2 and scoring 2. This may have been the highlight of the game. It's kind of hard to say how much it played in the later on. 2 outs, Gooden doubled, and with Dykstra at the plate, he was picked off, completely picked off. Andres Thomas was in there. Pete Smith didn't see him, threw the ball to the plate. Dykstra singled him in, and that just kind of opened it up, Pete.
Yeah, that was the big hit that put the Mets ahead, and they went on to score 4 more runs and win it by a final score of 6-1. New York now over 500. They've won 10, lost 9. Braves are now 10-12 on the year. Coming up next, our Superstation movie, Legend of the Lost, starring John Wayne and Sophia Loren. We'll be back with you on Sunday afternoon from Montreal. Until then, for Ernie Johnson, Billy Sample, Don Sutton, Skip Carey, and our entire TBS crew, Pete Van Weren from Shea Stadium in New York, where the final tonight was the Mets 6 And the Atlanta Braves won. So long, everyone.